Is ignorance truly bliss? Again, is ignorance truly bliss? I would think if we didn't live in this modern world that we lived in today, I feel like if we lived in just the world that I believe that it was originally designed, or without all these intricacies and nuances that's placed here in order for survival, I believe if all these things weren't here and it was all stripped away, then I would believe ignorance would be bliss. To a certain extent, I would believe ignorance would be bliss. A certain level. But in the modern world that we live in today, ignorance is not bliss. Again, in the modern world that we live in today, ignorance is not bliss. The reason why I say in times past ignorance could be bliss is because it wasn't much that you would have to rely on for your survival. The most would be some kind of wild animal and you being able to gather food for your survival. But other than that, wasn't much for you to be aware of. So you being ignorant about, other foreign lands is not necessary. It's bliss. You know, you being worried about paying bills or going to work, you're ignorant of those facts. You're ignorant about, what's going on in other towns and other lands and things of that sort. They don't take up your mental real estate. Nowadays, we have all this news and all these things that keep us updated. That makes us aware. But is being aware of all of these things really beneficial? Again, is being aware of all these things really beneficial? It's cool to know, but does it really help? Again, it's cool to know, but does it really help? But in this modern time, is ignorance really bliss? It's not. I wish, but it's not. Because you being ignorant could be your downfall. Again, you being ignorant to certain things can definitely be your downfall. So, who wants to have a purposeful downfall? When you know that there are a lot of entities or a lot of structures that's put in place for your downfall, that's put in place to capitalize and profitize off your downfall. When you know that people are plotting on your downfall, do you just give them the golden ticket, the golden key, and say, here you go? Do you just hand over your freedom? Or do you do what you have to do in order for you to be free? Because your freedom is tied into your survival. Survival and freedom is hand in hand. So if you do what you have to do in order for you to keep your freedom or your survival, then you must understand that ignorance is not bliss. You see, being conscious and aware and having certain rules, guidelines, and regulations, to me, I believe is what's needed at times in order for a community to thrive. I believe is what's needed. It's just like when you're driving and they say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. That ignorance of the law being no excuse is needed because if everybody was ignorant to the law or the rules of the road, guess what? We will have nothing but accidents. You know, everybody will be ripping and running, cutting people off. It'll be chaos. So if we take that same concept and add it to our lives, ignorance of certain things develops chaos, especially in this world that we're living in today. Again, the same way that we see the rules of the road and why we need to follow them, and how ignorance of the rules of the road is no excuse, it's the same thing. You follow the rules of the road and the laws of the road for our survival and our protection and our safety. That's why we're not ignorant to those rules and laws and regulations. And that's the same way with life. We can't be ignorant to the rules, laws, regulations, guidelines of life, because that takes away your safety. That takes away your longevity, especially in this modern world. Now, like I said before in the past, when we didn't have all these things that we needed in order to survive, was it so imperative? No, I don't think so. I believe you had to have some kind of level of consciousness, you know? But as much as you need today, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Anyways, let me know how y'all feel about this. This your favorite cousin Rich. Well, this is Rich. Y'all be safe out there. Love and blessings.